welcome to the video. Today we're breaking down a full setting structure for a high-level setter to be able to absolutely crush it. Also for a high-level company to actually put that into their business so then they can actually make more money, right? What have I done? I've done well over 500 sets. My biggest month was 153 cash collected as a setter. And I learned a thing or two throughout that whole process on really how to get people to show up and how to get people to show up with intent and be excited for the closing call to make your closer's job as easy as possible, right? And there's a few things to it. I'm gonna start from the very start. So when a prospect sees your ad, I would say 90% of the time, they do have a problem, right? There's a problem underneath them somewhere that we need to find out and diagnose. Now, if they didn't have a problem, they wouldn't opt in because something in that ad has aggregated their mind, or they've seen it and it's pushed some desire onto them, and they know in the back of their mind that desire of making more money or having more freedom, flexibility, whatever that may be, is going to solve their problem of them working their 9-to-5 job or et cetera, et cetera. And depending if it's an investor offer, if it's an investing offer, the pains are a little bit different because they don't have as much pain. It's more desire-based selling and fulfilling needs or wants that these people don't have. So it changes the spectrum a little bit. But what I'm gonna break down here is B2C, people who want to make like an online money or want to make or have financial freedom, and sort of that sort of selling is identity changing because they have been in a job for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They've never made changes and they're not happy where they are, but they don't know how to get out of it because they're comfortable or whatever that may be. And there's problems there to be able to cross that barrier. It could even be just fear. And it's our job to help them realize that, be like, that fear is actually holding them back. So let's start from the start. So basically when someone opts in, it could be a direct booking, or it could be an opt-in lead from a VSL ad where they go through the funnel. That setter will be called, right? And they will basically be run through a process to start shifting the identity slightly within that person, okay? I look at it as almost a dial, and a setter's job in a B2C offer is to almost start shifting that identity about 25% and understand why they're there, understand the problem they have, get full clarity in 4K vision and understand that, and understand that they do want to make a bit of a change, and there's intent behind that. Also pushing into the desire and how much or where they actually want to go in life. Right? It could be they want to make more money because they want more freedom for their family because they're so stuck at work, or it could be they want to go traveling because they don't get to travel ever because they have to work 60-hour work weeks or stuff. And what would it do for them if they did have more time so they could spend time with the family, or depending on what the offer is, there's different desires. But that's a bit of a breakdown of that. In terms of actually the setting structure, that works the absolute best in my opinion, and what I found is basically we're going to cook up now. All right, so setting guide. Okay, cool. So we're going to start here. So they come through the sales funnel, right? We're going to start with the main motivation. So they've opted in. We go with the main motivation here because we want to find out what actually motivated them to want to come into and get their problem solved, or what motivated them to want to make online money. If we're selling an info product here, let's use that for an example. What motivated them? There's a motivation behind that, right? Like they need to make more money because they need to pay the bills, or like I mentioned, spend more time with their family because they're so caught up with work, or leave the job, or they're been working a job for 20 years and they're unfulfilled and they don't want to be there anymore, and it's causing them extravagant pain in their life, right? We need to find out that main motivation and what motivated them. Now, you're probably going to get a surface level answer here, right? Like, yeah, I just want to make more money. in a identity changing like offer, it's not good enough. It's like, okay, cool. Well, everyone wants to make more money. What specifically motivated you to want to make more money? Because everyone's situation is different. They may still give you a bad answer. And if they give you a bad answer, what is usually best is to use examples of other people. And you could say, hey, cool. Well, you know, just for context, like majority of people that do come into this, you know, do want something solved in their life, right? For example, I had, you know, John the tradie, and he was working 60-hour work weeks, breaking his back, and he decided he had enough and he wanted to spend more time with his family and change his life so he could travel to Greece and sip martinis, right? Like you can use references and examples throughout the process to help them expand and understand, because a lot of these people don't know their own problem, right? Otherwise they would have already made the changes, right? And they would have actually got to the place they want in their life. So it's up to us to find that and get clarity on the actual problem so we can help them be their best version of themselves, earn more money, and live their best life. So main motivation, right? That's what we have here. And then, you know, what we can do here is we can also find out, like, you know, how much sort of income that they have. Now you got to be careful with how you word this. If you do this, replace income. Cool. Now what we can do here is a bit of like an FQ1. So this is like finding out, like, you know, what do they do for work? How long have they been doing it? And if they want to replace that job or just want to make additional income. Because some people actually genuinely like their job, right? But they just don't make enough income at their job. So using a question like that sort of gives us the answer that we need in terms of which path to go down, in my opinion. But we can work out an FQ1 and work out a little bit of information about the job, and then we can also find out sort of how much we're going to replace, you know, if there is pain there, which we can get into. So what we can do here is, if they do want to replace their job and we've got an indication of that, we can always ask and be like, okay, cool. Well, most people that do come to us and do want to actually work with us do want to replace their income, so then they can actually make that smooth transition outside their job and then actually start working online so they can actually help their quality of life. So I guess for you, John, how much do we need to help you replace, or what's the sort of rough figure that we need to make so then that can help you make that transition out of the job? So now we're sort of getting an understanding of what they basically make. And the reason why this is important is because now we can get a gauge if they're actually a DQ, because a lot of people will be. If they say, oh, I don't actually make an income, well, they're a DQ, you can cut it off right there. Already in the first 5 minutes, or in the first couple minutes, you understand that this person is DQ. Now you need to word that smartly, because you are asking them a personal question and they could lash back, and you could get that. So you need to, you know, obviously listen and sort of understand if it's a sophisticated prospect or if it's someone who's going to open up to you more and play it by ear. You know, there's no actual, you know, multiple ways to skin a cat in sales. So, but yeah, that's a breakdown of that, right? Now we then, once we get this, we want to understand like the challenge they have in their life. You know, everyone has a challenge or a problem, and it's like, okay, well, in that job, like, sort of what do you want to avoid, or what do you want to move to? Or you could ask a question like, what are you sort of specifically missing from that actual job that's making you want to make an online income? Or you can even ask them, if you don't understand or you don't know what, if it is job and you're lacking clarity, like what sort of challenges, you know, are you facing right now that you know, an online business would help you solve? And then are they going to start opening up to you of their actual pain and their problem, right? And it could be that they're working massive weeks, or they're working massive amounts of hours, and this is really paining them because they can't, you know, see specific people in their life or whatever. And you've got to open that can of worms and just get clarity on it. You don't want to go too deep in a setting call, but you do want to touch on that clarity and get understanding of why they're here. So after that happens and they say, yeah, well, cool, I'm working massive hours and I can't see my daughter, I can't see my stuff. You could almost touch on that and be like, geez, and how long has that been going on for, not seeing your daughter? 5 years. 5 years, that is a long time. Okay, cool. And you know, with the job itself at the moment, you're not actually enjoying that. Is that correct? Yeah, okay, cool. So that's one part of it. But the other part is you're not also seeing your daughter. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, cool. And like, Matt, or whatever her name is, or if it's John, whatever. Okay, man, I gotcha. That's a long time. Like, is that having, you know, and emotionally affecting you and yourself and the family? Yes, I am. How so? Okay, yeah. Well, X, Y, Z. And then we've opened the can of worms, and then we can sort of get into an impact if we want to, and we can find the impact of the actual problem. And okay, well, this is going for all that time, and what I usually like to do is to make the impact more powerful is relap all their pain. Okay, cool. So you're not seeing your daughter. You're working 60-hour work weeks. You're doing X, Y, Z. This is going on in your life. Seems like a lot. Silence. Yeah, it is. Geez, is that having like an impact on you, like throughout your life, like emotionally, mentally? Like, now we've got the impact. Yes, it is. How so? Bang. We've now got the impact. Okay, cool. Now we have full clarity of the situation. Now, some prospects will give you enough pain where you don't need to hit the impact, which is really, really cool because you've got enough pain there. You don't want to absolutely dig them into the grave or dig people into the trenches because that's not helping them in a setting call, and you're going to scare them. So we can get the impact here, which is cool, and then we can get a why now. Well, here, let me rub this out. So you can go like work out the problem, and then we can go here, effect, and we can go impact, and then we can move into the why now, because we want to understand why if they want to do this now. And if they don't, we can challenge them a little bit on that in a same side of the table energy way. Cool, so we can hit a why now, like what was the moment that made you say enough is enough, that you have to make some changes, like especially you've been doing this for like 3 years. You could simplify that. Just what was the moment? You've been doing this for 3 years now. What was the moment that made you say enough is enough? There's going to be a priority now, and they're going to tell you, damn. Well, just recently, something tragic has happened in my life, and now we've got like everything we need, and they have full awareness of like the problem where they're at, and that's super powerful because a lot of these people don't even know like that this is holding them back, and they have this realization, and they're like, whoa, like this guy's trying to help me. So you can do a why now then, and then from here I usually like to start moving into like desire. You can also hit a why now too. So why now too, if they give you a shit answer, you can be like, why is this a bit of a must change instead of a should? Predictably, because most people stay in the same spot for a long time. Like, why is it a must change instead of a should? And then they're going to go again, and then you can just stay silent, let them sit in it a little bit, right? Then we push into desire. So now we go more into the desire based stuff, because we need them to see the heaven island. We need them to see the other side, and we don't want them to sit in the pain too much, because if they're sitting in too much pain, they're not going to show up for your closing call because you've just basically dragged them through the nails and mud. We don't want to do that. We're here to help these people, right? Cool. We can go into a bit of a solution here as well. So like we can just be like solution awareness. Like, are you like, why haven't you made changes? Like, you understand your issues, and like, or not, you wouldn't want to say issues, but you understand like where you're at right now, right? And are you aware that this is holding you back? Yeah, I am. And you're just understanding them, making them understand about the solution and awareness of that. Then we push into desire, because now we need to paint that heaven island. It's super important. So we already know how much income they want to make and sort of get an understanding, but we can be like, okay, cool. Well, money and business aside, I really want to help you, get to the money goals or get to XYZ life. Like, in a perfect world, paint a little bit of a picture for me, like, what are some of the personal lifestyle goals that are really going to help you in your life or your situation or you're pushing towards? And then they're going to start opening up on their actual goals here, right? And on the goals, we also want to get 4K quality as well if we can. The reason being, if we can get 4K quality on the goals, it's going to paint a stronger heaven island in their mind. It's like putting honey in front of them and then being like, "Ooh, like very nice, like I want that." So now they've got understanding of like, you know, their problems and where they're at, but then we're also pushing into that heaven island and helping them see the other side, which is important as well, because we're here to help them, like I mentioned. So when they say, yeah, I want to be able to travel, or I want to be able to just like spend more time with the kids. Oh, okay, why is that important to you? Yeah, because like, I just don't see my kids, and like, that would be amazing. Or I have never traveled in the last 4 years. And where would you travel to? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I want to travel to Greece and this. Oh, imagine taking your kids who you're not having any time with to Greece to be able to travel with and do all these cool stuff. How would that make you feel? Oh my God, that would be amazing, right? And now they're just like in this awesome state. And that is super cool, right? Like we are helping them see their future self and getting clarity on where they want to be in life. Because in my opinion, and just even in my own life, I have found that you need some pain in your life to run away from, whatever that may be. You know, it could be actual pain, or it could be like, you know, not living up to your potential pain, whatever that may be. And then you also need a little bit of this desire. You need to know what's on the other side, or you need to have a place that you want to get to in life. And these two, when you have these two, it's more so like more pain, 60, 70% pain, I'd say 20 to 30% desire. You have that desire, the pain's more important, but you have that desire. You really have a lot of force and go about you to want to get to your goal. So them understanding their pain here, the problem and pain, but also now pushing into the desire and them feeling cool about this is like really, really, really important. Cool. Okay, so now we're at the desire stage, which is really, really cool. They've got understanding of that. We now need to FQ them because now they trust us, FQ to them. So this is where we want to get a bit of a financial qualifier to understand how much money they got, because we don't want to be setting unqualified leads to the closer's calendar. And it's our job as a setter to get as many qualified sets as we possibly can to the closer so they can close it, so we can collect the most cash. So you make money, the closer makes money, the company makes money, and we can help as many people as we possibly can, right? Change their lives. So FQ2 is the financial qualifier. So that is where you can be like, okay, cool. Well, you know, so I can really guide you in the right direction. I really want to help you get to XYZ goals, freedom, flexibility, whatever their goals are. You have to tie in what their goals are, and you have to almost remember or write what they're saying throughout your course, so you can then tie in everything, because it's super important, right? This is where we have FQ2. FQ2, yeah. So I can guide you in the right direction, point you in the right direction here, help you with XYZ goals. You know, how much money do you have sort of set aside that you can put into an online business, hypothetically speaking, if this is the perfect fit, right? Something along them lines. You can change it up a little bit, but it's just got to be something like that. And then they're basically going to say, okay, cool. Well, I've only got $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 available. Or they may say, oh, I don't have that available. Then you could say, oh, are you open to finance options so we can help you solve XYZ pain, which we went through earlier on the call. And just everything is logically connecting in their mind at this stage, and it makes sense for them to go down a finance route, even though they've only spoken to you 15 to 20 minutes. Some people will just be totally scared. It depends on your quality of the front end of the call, which is very important. Okay, so we can do the FQ2 here, which is nice, and FQ2 will give us the understanding of how much money they have available. Now, some people will not tell the truth, so we need to double down on that and stress test it and make sure that we can work out if they're telling the truth. So you, depending on what offer it is, like, yeah, you've got to phrase this right. Like on a B2C offer where we're helping people get out of their jobs, you can say this, but you can basically be like, yeah, cool. Well, you know, you've got 3K, that's not going to have you like in a homeless shelter, or that's not going to have you like eating sardines and noodles for the next couple of weeks, right? And basically through that, they're then going to have a understanding, and they're going to say, no, Harley, like I do have the money. If it's an investor offer, I wouldn't say something like that, because it's just like they're already higher in the echelon and they don't have that much pain. And the difference between that is you may, in a setting call, push into the desire more than the pain, and then bridge the gap in terms of why they're not at the place they want to be. Not to confuse this, but you know, if you want the other side of stuff as well. Investor offer, you wouldn't say that. You just be like, okay, cool, you're open to finance. You can be a little bit more direct, and they will tell you because they're not in a 9 to 5. They're probably earning great money, have a business or something like that. And to say something like that would be a little bit disrespectful to them. And they don't want that. They want to be heard and led and looked at as like, they're the man as well. So FQ2, that's basically your financial qualifier. That will give us full clarity how much money they have. If we didn't pick up the income they make in the front end of the call when we said we'll replace their income, because how much we need to replace their income? Oh, I only make it $500. $500, man, things are very expensive these days. How are you living on $500? Oh, I'm on Medicare. I'm with Centrelink, or I'm only working part-time because I have the kids. I can't afford this. Okay, cool, DQ. But if they've slipped through the cracks for some crazy reason, which can happen if we don't do a good enough job on the front end, right, we can FQ2 them right here. And this is where we can get the full clarity and understanding. So this is either going to be a DQ, we can, basically we can't help them, or after that, we then move on. Now, when we move on here from FQ2, financially qualifying them, if they do have fear that you've picked up through the call, or limiting beliefs, or they haven't done something for a very, very long time, you can sort of help them and challenge them here. And you could be like, okay, cool, sweet, man, well, that's perfect. That works great, and we can help you. Well, I think we can anyway. However, we have a lot of people that do come through and do want to make an online income. And, a lot of people say they want to make online income. A lot of people do make it happen. There's also a lot of people that don't make it happen because they have X, Y, Z, fears, limiting beliefs, and whatever they've said earlier in the call. And that's just going to mirror them, right, in the setting call. Now, we only want to do this if we need to shift their beliefs. We don't have to do this. Some setting calls, you don't get the red flaggies. But if you get a red flaggy, you can help them overcome that and be like, okay, cool. What about for you, man? Like, do you feel like, how do you feel about that? Do you think something's held you back? They're either going to say no, and you can be like, okay, cool. Well, I understand no. However, I did pick up that you have had some prior fear. Do you think that's held you back or no? Like, what's your thoughts? And, they can sort of understand that has, and they'll say yes. And then we can sort of touch on that and be like, dude, totally normal, right? It's very daunting coming to online business. I just want you to have the most success possible and, be able to get you to your goals. Like, how would that be for you? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Cool. And then you move on. And that touches on that, and it makes them realize you have to be very careful about this bit because you don't want to overwhelm them. You don't want to scare them. And you don't want to, you just don't want to, you want to make sure you word it a correct way. You almost want to have a specific same side of the table energy way that you want to do this, so you can really, really help them. Then you can move on and you can start getting into your pitch. So you can be like, yeah, sweet. So this all makes sense. FQ2, we can get rid of fear here. Sorry, we can get rid of the fear here, mirror slightly, or just help with limiting beliefs, right? And then we can go on here. Now this is optional, so don't always use this if you are going to use this, because this will actually can work against you as well, depending on prospect. Cool, now we can move on to sort of like the pitch, or getting an understanding of if they're happy with everything. Anyway, you can move on and you can just basically be like, okay, cool, well, that all makes perfect sense to me. And look, what probably makes the most sense, and look, I'm not 100% sure yet because we have really limited spots. We can't help everyone, but I do like the conversation we've had today, and I genuinely just have this feeling in my gut that we can help, but I'm not sure yet. However, what we can do is we can work out if we can actually help you and basically align you with a coach or an XYZ person, and we could actually get to the bottom of this and really change things for you, work out how much time that it's going to require that you've got to invest, how much money that we can actually make in time frame, so we can see if we can actually make this transition out of XYZ pain so we can get to XYZ desire. Does that sound good with you? and they're going to be like yes or no. And if it's a no, you can sort of understand why, and it could be like something that you stuffed up in the call, but in most cases they're going to say yes, like literally 80%, 70%, they're going to say yes. And that's where we can then move into our pitch and start pitching them our product. Another thing we can add here is just asking them how much they know about our product, you know, the product, and just be like, yeah, okay, cool. So how much do we actually know about the product, or what we actually do here? And then you can get an understanding if they've gone through the video, or which you can work that out at the start of the call as well, and ask them, you know, have you gone through the video? Yes, no. If they haven't, send them the video, or push through anyway, because you can always send them the video after the call. But yeah, how much they know about the product, and if they know little, you know that in your pitch, you've got to go on a deeper level. But if they've already said majority of what you do because they've watched the video, you can just do a light pitch. It doesn't have to be an insane pitch. And that pitch should be super sharp and high energy and sound very, very good, because the product is good, right? We're selling info products that are changing lives. So we want to pitch this here and give them an awesome experience, high energy, you know, outlay it out how we can actually help them, and, you know, ask them if that sounds good and tie that down and stress test it. And if it sounds good, cool. Now we can align you with a coach, right? And now you can work out what sort of times you have available for your actual coach, what sort of times you have for your coach, and start booking them into the actual Calendly or whatever Calendly you book into. Find a time that works for them and stress test this as well. You want to stress test all of this, because what happens is people say times and they are driving, or they are in a phone call, or they've got meetings, and you really want to double down that and just be like, yeah, are you sure that like that time 100% works? You're not going to be driving, not going to be out and about? No. Okay, cool. And then you can book them in. After that, you do want to run them through the video, and you want to show the value of the video. Okay, have you watched the video? Yes, I have. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to send it through anyway, because this video is going to really, really help you, right? And you're going to get so much more out of the actual call with XYZ person, and you're going to have way better understanding of how we can change XYZ pain. So this video is super important. I'm going to shoot that across to you now. You can watch that, yeah? Yeah, I can. Are you sure? Yeah, 100%. Okay, cool. Move on. Right, because then we've stress tested it, and we know that basically they're going to watch that video. And we also want to calm the nerves, because they've just got a call from the stranger, and they've now ran through a whole process, and, you know, it's taken them on a bit of an emotional roller coaster. They've almost started the call here, gone into pain, and then we've, you know, gave them a bit of a need payoff and pushed them into desire, and now we're setting a call into that. So we want to just calm the nerves. We want to be like, yeah, okay, cool. So how are you feeling about everything? Yeah, I'm feeling good. Okay, awesome. And if they say, I'm feeling a little bit nervous, I'm not too sure about this, totally normal, man. You know, everyone starts where you're starting. They go through the exact same things. And it's about just taking that step into that new identity, right? And you can also tell them a story. If they're still feeling nervous, you can be like, you know, when I did my massive month, I was at the end of the call, I would be like, yeah, cool. Can I give you a perspective? Yeah, man. Like, cool. Like right now you're in this bubble, right? You've got your current job, you've got the people you're living with, you've got the people you see at work, you've got, you know, you go to the gym, you do XYZ, 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 right? For you to get to that 2.0 version, or that second bubble that you want to be at, you know, with the desire, and you tie in the desire, it takes a little bit of a step to get into that. And because you've been doing this for so many years, it's a little bit daunting, right? So, and it's totally normal. It's totally normal. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually a good thing, right? And we can push into the better version of ourselves. And you really coach them like that, depending on the offer. If they're an investor's offer, you don't want to coach them or nothing like that. Or you can give them obviously need payoffs and stuff, but it's, you know, they're already higher level. So it's very hard to do this because they're not in the pain. They're more desire-based, unfulfilled needs. Yeah, so this is a breakdown. Then we book the call, right? Like this is where we basically book the call. So book, and let's move all this. My awesome handwriting. Book the call. Sweet. So we booked the call, and yeah, that's basically your set call done. Now, this is, a breakdown of setting, what you can do, a high level set call that will get you great results. And all your team members, if you're a company watching this, or, all your team members should be working in sync, right? The culture should be good. All the boys should be there. The good thing about a good culture is people who don't have the work ethic, who won't put in the work for sales, if you have a good culture and you have a good foundation of people, it will weed out everyone else. Cool. So that's a breakdown of setting. I'll also break down, cool. I also want to break down the fundamentals of setting that just comes to my mind, because I genuinely feel like, some people have it, some people don't. I think you can be taught, but you got to have that work ethic behind you. Conviction, state of being. You have to remember that this is not a Zoom call, right? This is a phone call. So you must have strong conviction and state of being so people trust you. Otherwise, they're not going to trust you. As simple as that. Yeah, okay. They need to believe best interest. Okay, they need to believe that you have their best interest at heart, because if they don't, it's like, why are they even here? Also, a hand around the prospect. So, like a brother, if you had a brother or a sister, you love them to pieces, right? You want the best for them. So what your mindset should be is having them by like hand over arm, and you're guiding them through the sales process journey like this. So you want to be on the same side of the table, speaking to them as a brother, as a friend. If you put yourself into that mindset, it's a lot easier than being like on the other side of the table and you're like doing this. So it's like everything should be like in their best interest. And what I mean by that is like, and it depends on your relationship with your family or whatnot, but if you see someone, you just say, fuck, you're fat. That hurts a lot. Like, that's like, bro, what? Geez, okay. Some people can handle that. Me personally, I can handle that if someone said that to me. Some people can't handle that because that actually hurts them and it hits a soft spot in their mind. So a lot of these people, they've just met you. So you want to be, you want to soften things. Imagine you got a prospect in your hand. You could be like, man, can I be brutally honest? And I genuinely want to help you here, but can I offer you a bit of a perspective? Yes, I can. You get the initiative. Look, man, you've been in this situation for a long time, and you haven't been able to spend the time you want with the kids because you haven't had the energy, right? You haven't had the problem. You haven't had the energy, or you haven't had the go about you, and that's not because XYZ thing. That's just because we've been eating bad, and we've been eating bad food for the last 3 months, for example, if we're using a food example here. And it's put you in this state. Can you see how that's like affecting you? Yeah, I can. Oh, well, man, like I really want to help so we can make some changes, right? So we can do it and see how it's just like in their best interest. Even when you ask a personal question like income, you don't want to say, hey man, what's your income? It's too hard. But hey man, like how much do we need to help you make to replace that income so we can help you with XYZ problem? Now it's in their best interest. So everything needs to be in their best interest in sales. I should make this a bit bigger, shouldn't I? Energy, it's about the prospect. Don't worry about your own process. Same side of the table energy. Understand what's holding prospect back. Find problem, AKA the hot button. The hot button is just like the biggest problem that's gonna make them move. Address the 1.0 version of them. Pitch in a way that's custom. Clarity on situation. Do they want to change now? Want to change now? So this is just some stuff that I've sort of cooked up here. This is a breakdown of setting and some stuff. In terms of operating the team, there should be KPIs, because without KPIs, people don't know what to work towards, and people are human and they're going to get lazy. There also needs to be high energy within the company. The leader needs to have a set of standards that we uphold. The manager needs to know what they're doing and be doing core reviews so people can improve, and everything should be in people's best interest in terms of running your team. And let's say you're a manager or you're an owner, you should be running your team in a way where everything's in their best interest and they want to perform and they feel like they're making personal development in themselves is very important. But yeah, this is a breakdown of a setting call. We went through the sales process, also some just fundamentals in terms of mindset and whatnot and what we sort of look for. You can obviously get a little bit deeper on everything and there's lots of nuances and stuff, but this is a broad overview in terms of setting and what you can actually do. If there's anything that you need help with, comment down below, send me a message and we can break down even on a deeper level how we can actually specifically help you. Either if you're a person trying to get into sales or you're into sales trying to get better, or if you're a manager or offer owner looking to scale your sales team through systems and structures. So I hope you enjoyed and see you on the next one.